Hello, you gorgeous bunch of beautiful souls. How are you all doing? Welcome to Unfold and Heal. I'm Jordan. On this channel, we peel back the layers of our hearts and address the messy parts. So let's get into today's message. Not everyone looks like what they've been through. Some people walk into the world with steady eyes and a quiet smile, and you never know how many battles they've survived just to be here on this earth. Because pain doesn't always show itself the way you'd expect. Some people learned early on how to hold themselves together in private, how to swallow fear, straighten their back, and move through life with the strength they never asked to develop. And the world assumes they're fine because they don't fall apart where anyone else can see it. But looking put together is not the same as being okay. Sometimes it's the people who are quick to stand up for others. Sometimes it's the people who look the most composed, who have carried the heaviest stories in silence. Not for attention, not for praise, but because it was the only way they knew how to survive. The truth is, you never really know what someone is enduring. People assume pain looks obvious, tears, chaos, visible cracks, but most of the time, it doesn't. Most of the time, pain looks like someone's still showing up, someone's still smiling, someone's still doing what needs to be done while quietly carrying a weight no one ever asked about or even noticed. And the world reads that as strength, as resilience, as they're fine. But strength can be misleading sometimes. Some people became strong because life didn't give them another option. Because nobody noticed their shaking hands or their racing heartbeat. Because they learned to hide their bruised spirit behind calm tones and perfectly timed, "I'm okay." And once people get used to you being the stable one, they stop checking in. They stop asking if you need anything. They assume you're built to handle storms simply because you've survived so many. But survival is not the same as ease. Silence is not the same as peace. And looking strong is not the same as being supported. Some people learn to carry their pain quietly because life never gave them the space to crumble, to ask for help, or to feel seen. At some point, hiding your pain stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like a skill you were forced to master. You learn how to keep going while your heart is tired. You learn how to tuck your emotions into quiet corners of the day, saving them for a moment that never quite comes. And without releasing it, you become fluent in pretending everything is fine. Not because you're deceptive, not because you necessarily enjoy the silence, but because vulnerability never felt like a place you were allowed to rest. So you hold yourself together with routines and responsibilities. You convince yourself you're managing, when really you're surviving on strength that should have been shared. But there always comes a small moment, sometimes gentle, sometimes unexpected, that makes you realize you're not meant to carry everything alone. Maybe it's someone asking how you have really been, from a place of true concern and compassion, and staying long enough to hear the truth. Maybe it's the way your reflection looks back at you a little more honestly than usual. Or maybe it's simply exhaustion finally whispering, you don't have to keep doing this by yourself. And in that moment, something shifts. Not dramatically, and not all at once, but enough for you to feel the truth, that you deserve support too. That your strength doesn't make you less human. That your story doesn't become less valid because you didn't show every wound. Healing begins quietly. The moment you allowed yourself to be seen, not for how well you've held it together, but for how much you've carried on your own. When you survived your own storms, you don't always notice how much of you was shaped inside them. You teach yourself to stand alone, how to put one foot in front of the other, even when the ground beneath you kept shifting. How to carry what felt uncarryable because there was no one else there to hold it with you. And when life has required that kind of strength from you over and over again, it's only natural that leaning on someone doesn't come easily. It's not that you don't want connection. It's not that you don't value closeness. It's that your nervous system remembers what it felt like to be let down right when you needed someone the most. So in turn, you keep your deeper truths tucked away. You analyze everything before you speak. You learn to measure the safety of a person before you offer even a fraction of your heart. Because somewhere along the journey, you learned a painful truth. That some people take your storms and use them as ammunition. Not understanding the fact that you survived them was an act of resilience, not something to be held against you. And unlearning that fear takes time. It takes patience with yourself, the kind you were rarely given. It takes recognizing that not everyone is meant to hold your truth. And that's not a sign of isolation, but of discernment. Trust and softness doesn't return all at once. It arrives slowly, the way dawn light touches a room before the sun finally rises. It begins with small things, letting someone in just a little, sharing a thought you once would have swallowed, allowing people with something tiny, even when your instinct whispers, do it yourself, you always have. Relearning trust after years of self-protection is not weakness, it's an act of courage, a quiet one, a tender one, but courage nonetheless. Because choosing to believe that not everyone will harm you, after you've known what harm feels like, is one of the most powerful forms of healing you'll ever attempt. And maybe the part that matters the most is that you don't have to rush the process. You're allowed to grow at the pace your nervous system can hold. You're allowed to take small steps towards trust without pretending you're ready for more than you are. You're allowed to rebuild your life in ways that make you feel steady, not stretched. Because healing isn't about proving you're unbreakable. It's about remembering you don't have to carry everything alone anymore. Not the weight, not the expectations, not the stories you've outgrew in silence. There is a version of you on the horizon who moves with more ease, more certainty, more gentleness toward yourself. And this version of you isn't waiting for perfection, just patience. A willingness to meet yourself where you are, instead of where you think you should be by now. Life has already asked so much of you, and still you found a way to keep going. Not untouched, but undeniably transformed. So let this be a reminder you rarely give yourself. You're allowed to soften without losing your strength. You're allowed to rest without losing your progress. And you're allowed to choose peace without feeling guilty for it. And you're allowed to take your time, because the world you're walking toward doesn't need the old version of you to survive it. It needs the one you're becoming. And on that note, beautiful souls, I'm sending you love, and I'll leave you with this message. Please take care of yourselves. Also, it would be much appreciated if you could like the video. It really helps it circulate for others to find it. All relevant information about me, including my book links and other things, are in the description box below. And until next time, beautiful people, peace and love.